Have you met her?
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Have You Mette? I'm Mette, and yeah, I couldn't resist the pun for today's episode title, Mette Me Where I'm At. Today we're tackling a myth that's caused a lot of damage. If you can just try hard enough, you can overcome anything. Because that phrase, meet me where I'm at, it gets thrown around a lot in neurodivergent spaces. But what does it actually mean? And more importantly, why do so many people get frustrated when everyone seems to be claiming they have ADHD or autism these days? Here's the thing. There's a massive misunderstanding about what neurodivergence actually is, and it's causing real harm. People think that ADHD means I'm a bit forgetful sometimes, or autism means I don't like loud noises. And when everyone relates to these surface level traits, it waters down what it actually means to be neurodivergent. So today we're getting into the real stuff. We're talking about what's always going to be a challenge because of my disability, what I can achieve, but it's genuinely harder for me, and most importantly, what actually makes it harder. Because understanding the difference between those three things, that's what changes everything for late diagnosed adults who spend their whole lives just trying harder. So let's address the elephant in the room. Why are people annoyed that everyone suddenly has ADHD? I mean, I get it, I really do. When you spent your entire life struggling with something that's genuinely disabling, and then you see people casually saying, oh yeah, I'm so ADHD, I forgot my keys today. It feels dismissive. But here's what's actually happening. We're confusing traits with disability. Everyone forgets their keys sometimes. That's a trait. Everyone gets overwhelmed by noise occasionally. That's a trait. Everyone procrastinates. That's a trait. But neurodivergence isn't about having these traits sometimes. It's about these things fundamentally impacting your ability to function in daily life consistently, despite your best efforts, despite trying so hard. And here's the difference. Neurotypical person, I forgot my keys today. How annoying. Goes back, gets keys, carries on with day. ADHD person, I've forgotten my keys 3 times this week. I set up systems to remember them. I've put hooks by the doors. I've set phone reminders and I still forget them. And now I'm late for work again. I'm crying in my car and I genuinely don't understand why I can't do one simple thing that everyone else seems to manage effortlessly. See the difference? It's not about the trait. It's about the impact. It's about the fact that trying harder doesn't work. And that's the myth we're busting today. If you can just try hard enough, you can overcome anything. No. Sometimes no amount of effort changes the fundamental ways that your brain works. So let's break this down properly. When we talk about meeting me where I'm at, we need to understand 3 different categories. What's always going to be a challenge because of my disability? These are the things that are neurological. They're not going to change no matter how hard I try or how many strategies I implement. For me, with my ADHD, executive dysfunction, my brain literally struggles to initiate tasks, even ones that I want to do. My sensory processing, certain sounds, textures, lights will always overwhelm my nervous system. My time blindness, I genuinely cannot perceive time passing the way that neurotypical people can. My emotional regulation, my emotions are intense and take longer to process. And these aren't character flaws, they're disability and they're permanent. Can I manage them better? Yes. Can I overcome them through willpower? Absolutely not. What I can achieve, but it's genuinely harder for me. These are the things I can do, but they require significantly more energy, support, and accommodation than they would for a neurotypical person. For example, I can hold down a job, but I need clear instructions, flexible working, and time to recharge. I can maintain relationships, but I need people to be direct and understand when I need time alone. And I can manage daily tasks, but I need systems, reminders, and grace when those systems fail. I can handle change, but I need advance notice and time to process. And here's what people don't understand. Just because I can do these things doesn't mean they're not significantly harder for me. If you can walk up a flight of stairs easily, and I can walk up the same stairs but arrive exhausted, sweating, and needing 20 minutes to recover, we both got to the top, but our experiences were not the same. So what actually makes it harder? And this is the crucial part that nobody talks about. It's not just that my brain works differently. It's all the external factors that make it harder. Unclear communication and unspoken social rules. Environments designed only for neurotypical nervous systems and rigid systems that punish different ways of working. The emotional labor of constantly masking the lack of understanding from people around me, having to justify and explain my needs repeatedly, and the shame and self-blame from years of being told that I'm just not trying hard enough. And this is what meet me where I'm at actually means. It means accept that some things are genuinely harder for me. Stop assuming that if I'm struggling, I'm not trying. And recognize that accommodations aren't special treatment. They're leveling the playing field. Understand that my disability doesn't disappear just because I've learned to manage it. Right. So I keep saying things like executive dysfunction and sensory processing differences. But what does that actually mean? What's happening in my brain that's different from yours? Because this is the crucial bit that nobody explains. And when people don't understand the science, they assume we're just not trying hard enough. So let's break it down. Executive dysfunction. The brain CEO is missing executive function. It's what helps you start tasks, so task initiation, plan and organize, manage time, regulate emotions, switch between tasks, and remember what you're supposed to be doing. That's your working memory. In ADHD brains, we have lower levels of dopamine and norepinephrine in the prefrontal cortex, and that's the CEO office of your brain. This isn't about willpower. It's about brain chemistry. So when I say I can't start this task, even though I want to, it's not laziness. My brain literally isn't producing enough of the neurotransmitters needed to initiate the action. The signal from I want to do this to I'm doing this gets lost because there aren't enough messengers to deliver it. Imagine trying to run a company where none of your emails go through, your phone doesn't work, and your assistant is permanently on holiday. That's executive dysfunction. And time blindness, my internal clock is broken. Neurotypical people have an internal sense of time passing. Your brain tracks time in the background. And ADHD brains, we don't have that. The part of my brain that should be monitoring time just isn't doing its job properly. It's not that I'm bad with time, it's that my brain genuinely cannot perceive time passing accurately. 5 minutes and 50 minutes can feel exactly the same to me. So when I'm late, when I underestimate how long something takes, when I lose hours to hyperfocus, that's not poor planning. That's a neurological inability to track time. My sensory processing, my volume dial is stuck on 11. And here's where autism comes in for me. My sensory processing is different. Neurotypical brains have filters. They can tune out background noise, ignore the feeling of clothing tags, not notice flickering lights. And autistic brains, those filters don't work in the same way. Everything comes in at a full volume. My nervous system can't prioritize what's important and what's background noise. So when I say that noise is overwhelming, it's not that I'm being dramatic. It's that my brain is processing that sound at the same priority level as someone speaking directly to me. I literally cannot filter it out. It's like trying to have a conversation at a concert where everyone else has earplugs and you don't. They can hear just fine. You're completely overwhelmed. Emotional regulation. My feelings don't have breaks. Both ADHD and autism affect emotional regulation, but in different ways. With my ADHD, my emotions are intense and they hit immediately. I go from 0 to 100 in seconds because the part of my brain that's supposed to regulate emotional response again, that's the prefrontal cortex, isn't communicating properly with the emotional centers of my brain. And my autism is that I need time to process emotions. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm feeling until hours or days later. And when emotions do come, they can be completely overwhelming. And putting them together with my ADHD, it's a wild ride. Intense, immediate reactions that I also can't fully process in the moment. And that isn't immaturity, it's neurology. My working memory, my brain's sticky notes keep falling off. Working memory is your brain's ability to hold information temporarily while you use it. Go upstairs and get your keys, phone, and wallet. Neurotypical brain holds all 3 items in working memory while you go upstairs. And the ADHD brain, by the time I get upstairs, I've forgotten why I'm there. Or I remember the keys, but the 2 other items have vanished from my mind. So it's not about paying attention. The information literally doesn't stay in my working memory long enough. It's like trying to write on a whiteboard that keeps erasing itself. And the crucial point, none of these things are about effort. They're about neurology. They're about brain chemistry. They're about how my brain is wired. When I say I can't do this, I don't mean I haven't tried. I mean my brain is not producing the right chemicals, or my brain is processing this information differently, or the neural pathways that should be connecting aren't connecting properly. Understanding the science doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding why things are hard, so we can work with my brain instead of against it. It means accommodations aren't making excuses. They're adjusting the environment to account for neurological differences. And that's what people don't understand when they say everyone's a bit ADHD. No, everyone forgets things sometimes, but not everyone has a neurological condition affecting their executive function, working memory, and dopamine regulation. Now let's talk about what this means for late diagnosed working adults, because this is where it gets really painful. You've spent your whole life just getting on with it. You've pushed through, you've tried harder than anyone around you can even imagine. You thought everyone found things this hard. You thought you were just weak, lazy, not trying hard enough. And then you get diagnosed at 30, 35, 40, 50, and suddenly everything makes sense. But here's what nobody prepares you for: the grief. The grief of realizing that you spent decades beating yourself up for things that were never your fault. The grief of all those times that you were told just try harder when you were already trying with everything you had. The grief of missed opportunities because you didn't have the support or understanding. And here's where Meet Me Where I'm At becomes life-changing. Because now you have to learn what struggles are disability and not moral failings, what you can achieve with proper support, what accommodations actually help, and how to stop blaming yourself. For late diagnosed adults who've spent their whole lives pushing through, learning to ask for support feels impossible. You've been conditioned to believe that struggling means you're not trying hard enough. But meeting yourself where you're at means accepting that you have a disability and that's okay, that some things will always be harder for me, and that I deserve support and accommodations. And trying harder isn't always the answer. And this is what changes lives. Not awareness, not inspiration about how ADHD is a superpower, but genuine understanding of what you actually need and why you need it. So what does meeting me where I'm at look like in practice? At work, clear written instructions, not just verbal. Flexibility in how work gets done, not just when. Understanding that I might need quiet spaces or headphones maybe. I don't, but other people might. Recognizing that I can be excellent at my job and I still need accommodations. And in relationships, it means direct communication. I can't read hints or subtext well. Understanding that I need to recharge alone and not taking it personally if I forget things or seem distracted. And recognizing that my way of showing love might look different to yours. And from myself, to stop comparing my efforts to neurotypical standards and recognize when I'm masking and allow myself to unmask. And to build systems that work with my brain, not against it. And accepting that needing support doesn't make me weak. And this is exactly what we do at the ADHD Creative Hub. We help people understand these categories for themselves. We help late diagnosed adults unpack years of self-blame and learn what they actually need. Our Life Lounge workshops aren't just about learning what ADHD or autism are. They're about understanding your specific challenges, what's achievable for you, and what support you need. Because meeting you where you're at means understanding your neurodivergence, not just neurodivergence in general. So here's what I want you to take away from today's episode. If you're frustrated that everyone claims to have ADHD now, I get it. But the frustration should be directed at the lack of understanding, not at people seeking answers. If you're someone who relates to ADHD or autism traits, that's valid. But ask yourself, is this impacting my life significantly? Am I struggling despite genuine effort? Or am I just relating to universal human experiences? If you're late diagnosed and still learning what you need, be patient with yourself. You spent years internalizing the message that you just need to try harder. And unlearning that takes time. And if someone asks you to meet them where they're at, understand that they're asking you to recognize that their experience is fundamentally different from yours, even if it looks similar on the surface. Just try hard enough, you can overcome anything has caused so much damage, and it's made neurodivergent people believe they're failing when actually they're working with a disability in a world that just wasn't designed for them. Meeting people where they're at means accepting that some things are genuinely harder, that accommodations aren't weakness, and that disability doesn't disappear through willpower. Thank you for watching today's episode. And for some exciting news, we'll be hosting our first fundraiser, Unmasquerade, on the 21st of November at the Brampton Holt Pub in Northampton. It's going to be an epic night of music, surprise entertainment, and a raffle with some amazing prizes up for grabs. So head on over to our webpage at www.mentawellbeing.com to find out more or check out our socials. Join us again for next week's episode, where we'll be talking to Damien Reese, aka the Bearded Viking, about the mental and physical exhaustion of running a business. You won't want to miss it. But before I go, time for the signature question. Your life's a country song, and what's the title? Mine for today would be, I tried harder than you'll ever know, and I still forgot my keys. Thank you for listening to Have You Mette? New episodes drop every week on YouTube at the ADHD Creative Hub. Like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, you're not trying hard enough isn't the problem. The problem is a world that won't meet you where you're at. See you next week. We're based out of the Mensa Wellbeing Group, Northamptonshire's Centre for Neurodivergent Wellbeing. Check out our website for our services, upcoming events, and space hire.
Have you met her?